In the world we live in, we tend to stick to our own. We stick to what we know and the way we are used to doing things rather than expanding our horizons. The US is diversifying faster than we could ever imagine, and most of us, including me, lack the knowledge and the understanding of other cultures besides our own. This becomes a problem. We always say that we have a respect for diversity, but are we really taking the necessary actions to back up our statements? Respect for diversity is more than just admiring one's differences, but taking the time to learn more about their ways and being able to understand and connect on a deeper level. I am passionate about this because I grew up in a city where there were not many African Americans, and being in the minority, I wanted others to understand me and to not make assumptions about my background. If this is something I want others to do, then why can't I do it myself? The Earth Charter sheds light on this by explaining that in order for us to move forward and tackle greater problems, we need to have respect for one another, admire our differences, and also be understanding of one another. I'm Jonathan Lofton, and over the recent months, I've been conducting a personal activism project that I call Seeing the World from a Different Angle. My project focuses on implicit bias and the lack of understanding of other cultures. The purpose of my project is to inform. I want to inform everyone that implicit bias is a real thing. It is happening in our lives without us even knowing about it. I'm hoping my journey and how I change my behavior, others will notice and take action to change their own behavior. My objective is to teach myself about numerous different cultures by meeting people who attend FGCU and mutual friends and the people of Lee County community. I want to learn about their ways of life, including the food, clothing, language, and just their way of doing things. This is necessary in order to build a mutual understanding. I also learned about other cultures through my own research, and the goal for this project was for me to learn about 5 different cultures other than my own. In reference to the Earth Charter, my project aligns with Pillar 1, respect and care for the community of life. Mainly, Principle 2, care for the community life with understanding, compassion, and love. This project also aligns with Pillar 4, democracy, nonviolence, and peace. Mainly, Principle 16A, encourage and support mutual understanding, solidarity, and cooperation among all people within and among nations. For this project, I use Apple Notes to keep track of my journal entries. So for the first week of the project, I learned about Trinidad with a friend whose roommate was from there. And I had asked him if I could interview him for my project, and he said yes, of course. And for this event, we made the Trinidadian dish called chow, which is mangoes, pineapples mixed with different spices, and it has cilantro and this Trinidad Calypso hot sauce. At first, I did not want to try it because I'm really bad at opening up to new things, because I thought that seasoning with fruit and hot sauce with fruit wouldn't be so good, but it ended up being delicious. And he showed me a lot about their culture, about their flag. And he told me that where he's from, they speak a lot of different languages, but the area he's from, they speak Spanish. And it shows how diverse they are. But I had fun for the most part in this one. For the next week, the focus of the culture was Haiti. And this, I interviewed my roommate, Gator Joseph, who's Haitian. And he told me about the Haitian history and about their language, because I assumed that their language was French. But he told me that from the mixture between the encounters between the French colonists and the African slaves is what made their language Creole. And one of their famous dishes was Haitian mac and cheese. And one way I've learned that can bring people together in a way just to understand other people's cultures is through food. So the first time he made Haitian mac and cheese, I just watched him. And the second time I made it on my own and tried to mimic his recipe. The following week was all about Jamaica. And for this, I was interviewing Cheyenne Reynolds, which is my roommate Gator Joseph's girlfriend. I asked her what her favorite part about being a Jamaican was, and she told me it was the pride and the confidence in their beauty. She showed me all the different hairstyles for the men and women, all the different dreads, the curls, the products, the clothing. And my favorite part of all was when she taught me how to make the jerk chicken breast. And I learned a lot about the Jamaican history and the language Patois, which was similar to Haitian Creole because of the West and Central African slaves learning the dialect from English and British colonists. After this, the next culture was Italy. And this is where a lot of my self-research had to go into play, because my curiosity arose from working at Olive Garden, because I found out that besides their food, they're famous for their art and like the luxury and just like the cars, clothing. And I learned a lot about the clothing brands that I'm used to hearing and all the famous people are wearing. It's all Italian. Valentino, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace. And then I attempted to make my own Italian cuisine. And I just wanted to know why our country was so influenced by Italian culture and why it was so iconic. Their culture is seen as art by many around the world, and which is why we're so influenced by them. I was shocked to find out that the brand Polo was also an Italian brand, and I learned a lot about their religion just being mostly Roman Catholicism. And I also learned a little bit about the holidays and like one specific one called Epiphany, which is on January 6th. Last but not least was Mexico. When I interviewed a coworker, Aralia Gonzalez, who was a dishwasher at Olive Garden, she taught me all about how important soccer was for their country, and she told me about the importance of the holiday Day of the Dead, brought in Pan de Muerta for me to try, and she taught us how to make rice and beans with tostadas. In the end, this project had a good impact on my life. Learning about new cultures has promoted my understanding on why people do the things they do. Being able to identify with people has helped me sympathize and relate to other situations. My respect for people has been a lot higher, and my openness to learning new things has been as well. The biggest gain out of this is that I can now minimize stereotypes. Prior to this project, like many others, I was a lot more judgmental without even knowing I was. Now, the new experiences has allowed me to be more accepting of people regardless of where they are, like where they're from, and it helped me grow as a person. And in reference to my results, I achieved my objectives. I learned about 5 different cultures other than my own. Because of my research and project events, I have reduced my implicit bias and I have increased my hunger for learning more about other people. New experiences are more inviting to me. Even though I have finished this project, I am still open to learning about new cultures, building new relationships, and seeing what else is out there in the world.